Coming up, Microsoft announced new toys.
You're listening to Double Time, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Preece.
Shaun Preece, my good man, how are you today?
Excited, Stephen Scott. I am so happy and excited today.
Oh, is that because of our big, beautiful breaking news?
Breaking news.
The way you say it just makes it even better. It is, yes. Microsoft and Surface. Surface Pro is my favoritist, if that's a word, and bestest computer I've ever had.
Favoritist and bestest. I'll make sure and put that into the review immediately.
Yes, put that in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, look, we're going to get to that. That's a big story of the day. There are some other news stories I want to get to as well. There's a few things I want. Yeah, there is. Some pretty interesting stuff going on out there, It's okay. Fine. It's almost like you didn't believe me there for a second. Just absolute silence. Anyway, I will prove myself to you in a few moments, okay? But I also want to mention we've got Sean Randall joining us a bit later. Now, Sean is someone who's been on the show a number of times, and he was the one who gave me this amazing tip. And
you say gave. I would say you stole it from him.
I did steal
Mastodon.
it. I did steal the tip, which was all to do with labeling at home. He recommended a label printer to me, and guess what?
What Stephen bought this week?
I bought the label printer. Yeah, it's no huge surprise. Listen, it's like £30, £30 it was in the UK for this little thing. I'm going to tell you about it a bit later. Sean's going to join us as well to talk about how he's using it, and I'm going to try and change your mind on this because you're a little bit cynical, if I'm honest, about this.
Don't start.
No, I'm not impressed with you about this at all. This is not good. You're not embracing the labeling. That's what I think. You need to embrace labeling.
Stop gaslighting me. That's not
I don't know what that means. Stop using those words.
I don't know either, but the youth say it. That's not true at all. Anyway, we'll get into it later on.
Yeah, let's get into it later. But first up, let's get into the news of the day. And the news is that Microsoft have announced 2 new Surface devices. Kind of a strange launch, this one, because no big event, really. Just pretty much a press release drop. They just launched a couple of videos on YouTube showing off the new hardware. Don't quite know what I'm expecting these days, but I think we just get so used to big events, and now it's just like, there's a new laptop.
Fully produced Hollywood-style movie event. That's what I want. But
that's right.
Yeah, it just slowly appeared on their website, but still, it's the products and hardware that's important, Stephen Scott.
Yes, no, it is, and I will say, this is. Again, an evolution here, not revolution by any stretch. There's a couple of changes to these particular models that are out, a new Surface Pro and a new Surface laptop, and I'll talk you through some of them. The Surface Pro is now 12-inch. I didn't even realize it was 13-inch, but there you go. 13-inch it was. You've got the Surface Pro 8, I think, at the minute.
Yes, I have.
You love it.
It's amazing. It's fantastic. Perfect form factor. I love it. It's my favoritist.
Well, I'm so pleased for you. I'm so happy you're having a great life together, you and your Surface Pro. Well, now it can be even smallerest because it is 12-inch rather than 13. The Surface laptop comes down from 13.8-inch to 13-inch. They're really going for this almost ultrabook approach with these devices.
Yeah. Doesn't it seem like, I kind of think, okay, does it really make much of a difference? But I will say it does. It actually does make a difference. All these... it doesn't seem like, they're halving the size or anything, an inch on the Surface Pro and less than that on the laptop. But it does. It does make a difference to the portability of it.
I think it does, yeah. And also because of the new Snapdragon processors in there, and, some of the other features that come in with this, they can afford to make them smaller now. They can start to... I remember the days when Ultrabooks was a big deal. They were really expensive laptops that you would buy. They were really fairly high... Well, I'd say fairly highly powered, not hugely powered. I don't think you would use them for, major tasks, major creative work, video editing, that kind of thing. But they were certainly great for the everyday. They were way more powerful than the netbooks of the time, which were the kind of original Ultrabook that was terrible.
Yeah, they were a great form factor, but just not powerful enough. It's the ARM chips that have made the huge difference. The thing about trying to get these thin, sleek, beautiful, tiny MacBook Air style laptops is that where am I going to put all the fans? Because, the current traditional Intel x86 chips run very, very hot.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's just where these change. Now, I will say as well, according to Microsoft, these are designed for the everyday consumer. And I think this is actually a really good thing, actually. They've kind of built this as this is the everyday computer. Both of these are. Whether or not, and we'll get to this, but whether or not the Surface Pro deserves the Surface Pro name in this occasion, I don't know. But we'll get to that in a minute, because I don't know. It just feels to me like if they're selling this as not being, for the creator, or for someone who needs to video edit or do demanding tasks, then it's not. Is it Pro? I don't know. But anyway, we'll come to this, because look, as I say,
the naming doesn't seem to make much sense anymore.
No,
I agree.
The key words here: smaller and lighter. That is what they're going for. Modern rounded edges. It's all very nice and beautiful, different colors as well. Both of them, of course, having their bright, sharp screens, which is great. If you ever use Zoom Text or Supernova, you're going to want to check out a Surface Pro, because I will say they were the best machines I ever saw. And I remember 5 years ago, I think it was, maybe even longer than that, trying out a Surface Pro with Zoom Text. I was just blown away by the quality of that screen. Oftentimes we don't think about the quality of the screen mattering, but it does. It does when you're using magnification. In fact, it's really important. So, if you're using magnification software, the Surface Pro is a great machine to look at. The other benefit of the new Surface Pro here and the 12-inch form factor is it has no fan at all. So more like a tablet, right? They're kind of going down the tablet line with this. It's completely silent. The Surface Connect port has gone. Oh my goodness.
Good riddance.
How dare you? All my docks and things that have got Surface Connect, that little magnetic strip that used to just stick into the side of a laptop, which basically was your dock connector for a lot of people. It was also the charger for a long time. That has now gone. Only USB-C ports remain. You've got 2 on there on the Surface Pro. The laptop itself has got an additional USB-A and headphone jack as well. Now, the Surface Pro comes with a new flat type cover. Now, you might know if you've ever got your hands on, or if you even have a Surface Pro, that the way that the keyboard connects, it attaches magnetically, as this one does as well. But it kind of sits up. It kind of like, pops up a little bit. So it's kind of angled as you type on it, which always made me think I was typing on a trampoline. And it kind of annoyed me a little bit, I'll be honest. You don't care
great.
because you love it.
It's great. It's amazing.
Yeah. You're a Surface Pro apologist. That's what you are.
Most of the time I use a MX Keys keyboard when I'm using it anyway.
It's a sensible way to use any computer, quite frankly. But yes, now this flat type cover actually sits flat on the desk, which is more like what you would get with the iPad. And if you bought any of those like Logitech keyboards for an iPad, or you've seen any of those, you could get equivalents for the Surface Pro at the time as well. There were other manufacturers that would create those keyboards. But that is now flat, so it's a different keyboard. So if you have an existing Surface Pro and you want to upgrade to this, that keyboard that you have for the existing Surface Pro ain't going to work on this. You're going to have to buy the new one because it is smaller. How many people are going to be irritated by that, do you think?
Well, yeah, but it's fine. I mean, it is an irritation, but, considering how cheap and affordable the keyboard is, people shouldn't really worry about it, Stephen.
Wow, and that's coming from Shaun Preece. That is, I think that alone today deserves
breaking news. Breaking news.
I believe it's only an extra $150 US.
Oh, only? Goodness me, are you doing all right over there? What's going on? You've been having words with Mr. F or something?
Of course. I am joking. It's an absolute disgrace. Selling a computer without a keyboard is ridiculous.
Why not just include
that much for it?
I know. Why not just include it in the price? I don't get it. You're going to need to buy one anyway. Okay, make it optional in the sense of perhaps color, because I know that the whole thing here is you can change colors and stuff. But just make it optional. But it should come with let's be honest about it. Say you're buying the violet color, which is the blue color Surface Pro. Well, you'll get the blue violet keyboard to go with it. I mean, it just makes sense. Who's going to buy it without the keyboard? Anyway, the other thing you're going to get is no more Alcantara. Thank goodness for that. I hate that Alcantara all over the place.
It
just annoys me. That's the fabric, by the way, that sits the plush kind of fabric around the touchpad of your keyboard. So
let me stop you right there. Two ridiculous things. The Surface Connect, any proprietary connection is always a terrible, 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 terrible idea. And putting fabric on a keyboard when you've got, KFC greasy hands
you do.
is an absolute ridiculous idea. Stop doing it, everybody.
They obviously listen to you because they just have. They've just got rid of it. They got rid of the Surface Connect and they got rid of
then I'm happy.
Alcatraz, whatever it is that they've got on top of the keyboard.
That's funny. Someone else has just brought that back.
Oh, someone wants to bring it back. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
It's funny how it all just works its way out, doesn't it? But yes,
Yin
no
and
more of that fabric on the top, which makes it easier to clean. Again, bringing up your concerns. But it is on the back still to make it feel nice as you walk around. It feels like a little teddy bear as you walk around. You can hold on to your Surface Pro as you walk about. The stylus, for those who actually use it, certainly I don't know any blind people that use the stylus, but it does now attach magnetically to the back of the tablet, not in a slot on the keyboard itself anymore. So again, just a few design changes there, but again, evolution, because we're talking here really about what's inside. And powered inside is the Qualcomm Snapdragon X Plus chip, which they say is fast, efficient, and fanless. And in terms of battery life, which is always good to know about, on the Surface Pro, you're going to get around 12 hours. The laptop gets about 16 hours. So, what I'm reading from this is the Surface Pro is more like just a tablet with a keyboard, very powerful tablet with a keyboard, don't get me wrong. But the Surface laptop is really where the power is, or at least the extra features are. You've got the extra USB-A, you've got the headphone jack, you've got the keyboard built in that doesn't cost extra money, although ironically the price is higher for the laptop to the Pro.
They charge you for it.
Kind of works out anyway. And the battery life is bigger. So the laptop seems like the better deal in some ways. Well, it doesn't it? Because unless you really want a smaller, but also look at the option. Look at the specs, right? 16 hours of battery life. You've got the extra ports.
Extra ports. What extra ports do you have?
This is the third time I've said it. Yeah. USB-A, headphone jack.
Are you saying you don't get a headphone jack on the Surface Pro?
It doesn't mention it here. I mean, I haven't seen this thing up front yet, so I don't know. It would be strange if the Surface Pro doesn't have one, but it may not.
Okay. Yes, it may not.
That would be kind of unusual, actually, if it didn't have
it would, I think so, for a tablet. But who knows nowadays, who knows what's staying and what's going. For example, Windows Hello is not available on the laptop.
Yeah. Again, strange, right? Because it seems on one hand, there you go, the laptop seems like it's leading, and then all of a sudden you see this feature not appearing. Now, it will have a webcam in there, but it doesn't have the Windows Hello functionality in the Surface laptop. It does in the Pro. Bit strange.
Oh, a bit strange, yeah. I mean, this is Microsoft's, security feature, and they're not doing it on their own device. Hello is very, very good. It recognizes your face and logs you in, much like Face ID on the iPhone and lots of other smartphones, actually. It just works really well. Now, there is a fingerprint sensor on the Surface laptop.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not terrible. You don't have to type in your PIN every time, and it's secure. But I just think it's a strange move. That's all. Windows Hello is very, very good. I would miss it.
It's a bit of a regression when it comes to the laptop. I don't quite know why you would... because, again, I look at these and I'm like, okay, they sound amazing and they're brand new. But where do they fit in the lineup? Right? Because when you go to the actual Surface or the Microsoft Store and you look at the Surface options available, they've obviously replaced the previous generations. But you still have, for example, even though the Surface laptop 13 inches there, you can still buy the 13.8, you can still buy the 15-inch one. So, it's not kind of like this is somehow replacing the entire lineup. You're literally this is just replacing the entry level of the lineup. That's what it feels like to me. And even the Surface Pro, I still don't see where the Pro moniker comes in, because they really talk about the fact this is built for everyday stuff. It's not really built to get down and dirty with video editing or even huge AI tasks. So this is for everyone, which is great, but is it Surface Pro for everyone? I mean, I don't know. The naming just throws me a bit.
Yeah, I kind of think this should have been a replacement for the Surface Go. They should have named this the Surface Go Run. And the Pro is, because, the Surface Pro, what was the last generation? 11. Surface Pro 11, Gen 11. I can understand the Pro moniker because, you can still get them if you buy them through the business fork. You still can get them with Intel processors. Not to the home user, you can't, but for businesses, they can buy them with the Intel processors if you're still slightly nervous about the ARM compatibility. I believe you can even get them with the Snapdragon X Elite processor option, which is the one, the top end, which is the one above the Plus. So I understand, there are options to upgrade for the Pro. So I get that.
Well, unless it's going to come. I mean, obviously, these are due to start shipping in June, according to the Microsoft store I was on last night, and there weren't any customization options in there.
No, there isn't.
Which I thought was kind of interesting. No ways to change it. Not even. I mean, so they all come with a minimum of 16 gig RAM, the base level 256 gig solid state drive on both devices. There didn't seem to be a way to change that. Now that may change down the line once they actually are available, and maybe in the early stages you can only pre-order that particular one. I don't know. Seems odd.
It does seem strange because they mention, we'll talk about the prices. It mentions, the base model. So it does say, you would assume if this is the base, there must be other options available. But when I took a look, I couldn't find any other options. And on the SSD, by the way, with the Surface Pro, there isn't that external SSD. You can't change out the internal SSD anymore. Underneath the kickstand, you could take off the cover and replace the SSD. That isn't an option anymore. I think that's really disappointing as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I really like the sound of these machines, and I'm very intrigued to see where we're going with this. But I was kind of expecting more. I was kind of expecting to see like the next level. It's like, I think we're so used to the Mac events where whatever's coming out is a improvement processor-wise on what was there before. Now, it might be marginal, but it is an improvement, and it replaces the lineup. But I think this just muddies the waters. I don't think it clears anything up for people. If you're going out to buy a Microsoft Surface computer, and that's what you want, you could argue that it'd be better off buying last year's model to this year's model, because you've got the option for the Elite processor from Snapdragon. It doesn't seem that that's available inside the Surface Pro that was announced yesterday, or the Surface Laptop, unless that's going to come in down the line. Either the messaging is really poor on this and I'm not quite getting it all, or it's just as simple as, look, this is just your base machine, you buy this and everything else is in the cloud, because that's almost like something you're buying a Chromebook version of a Windows machine. Not saying it's not powerful, not saying it's not capable.
Yeah, but they're being upfront. I mean, as you said right at the start, this is an everyday, right, an everyone computer. Yeah. This is for your general user.
256 gig. I mean, that must be changeable. It's got to be. I mean, if you can't change the hard drive inside it yourself, you have to. Please tell me I can at least get 512 in there. 256 gigs not enough for anyone.
Yeah. That's what makes me think, there's got to be customizable options later on, because that's just not enough for some people.
Now, there were some other things that kind of trickled out in amongst these announcements, and that is some new built-in AI features for Copilot Plus PCs. And this one kind of just was leaked, I'll say leaked out, just kind of eked out more like, and that is Windows 11 Recall. Now, you might remember there was a big issue with the Recall feature when it was announced, because, essentially it was suggesting you could, watch every single thing you were doing on your computer. The computer was constantly aware of what you were doing. It was, so that you could go back in time and say, what was that thing I was looking at 2 weeks ago last Tuesday? Or, what was that yellow dress I was trying to buy, in Sean's case? And it could go off and find it. And that was great. But then they pulled that feature amongst some concerns around privacy. It has now returned inside these new Copilot Plus PCs. So, Windows 11 Recall coming. Some other features as well, some ways to better search photos by name, image generation tools inside Microsoft Paint. Is that still a thing?
Yes.
And Click to Do, which I didn't quite understand this. Basically, it creates to-do lists for you. I guess out of the Windows 11 Recall features, or perhaps even through AI summarization. I mean, it's kind of, all these things are starting to come together in some ways. But yeah, these are features that are available now through Copilot Plus PCs. Facial recognition, of course, on Surface Pro, but the fingerprint reader instead on the Surface Laptop. The webcams inside the laptop have been reduced in quality a little bit.
Really?
It was they're both 1080p webcams, but I think the webcam inside last year's Surface Laptop was slightly better. But they are still giving you studio quality mics and decent speakers for video calls. I've got to say, the Surface lineup was probably the only laptops I've seen from Windows or Windows laptops that ever had decent speakers in them. Generally, I
yeah.
find laptops to be awful when it comes to audio. The Surface laptop, Surface Pro, I should say, was
Sounds
your one.
great.
Sounds amazing. Yeah, really
Yeah.
good. In terms of pricing, so the Surface Pro 12 starts at 1199 Canadian. That's 799 US. Keyboard sold separately.
Ridiculous.
Okay. Surface laptop 13-inch, that starts at 1349 Canadian, which is 899 US. Now, they're saying it's for students, it's for families, it's for anyone who needs portability. They say it competes well with the iPad Pro and the MacBook Air in terms of features and design. So is this what they're going up against? Is this for the idea? They go up against these two? I guess it makes sense. The MacBook Air is extremely popular, especially with students. So, you know, and there was a time, and again, I know business is going to get a big focus on this as well. And there was a time, I remember, you could walk through a train in the UK and all you would see is people sitting with MacBooks. And then there was a period of time where that all changed to Surface. And I think it's because, obviously, if business get involved, then great. They can obviously just issue these to their staff. But also, if they're good looking, if they're decent looking machines, as the Surface lineup is, and they're powerful enough, and that battery life, which does matter. Anytime I leave the house with a laptop, I'm taking a charger with me. My Lenovo laptop that I love, I always take the charger with me because I never know. And it's one of those big brick chargers, you know, one of those big bricks with the umpteen cables coming out of it. And it's just
USB-C, that's the answer.
Yeah, you know, I just want to take a simple, or ideally not take my charger with me. If I'm going out for a day to a coffee shop, I want to just take my laptop, open it up and use it. And I will say, after saying all the things I've said about it, I actually do really like the sound of this particular machine. In particular, the Surface laptop. I'm not a huge fan of the Pro with the kickstand and the keyboard that attaches magnetically. I will have a play with it. I'll go to a PC shop and I'll have a play.
Such a Philistine.
But I do prefer the laptop. I love the Pro in terms of the design and everything else. I just find it's just like, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's like you got to build a computer before you even start using it. I can't be bothered.
You say you love the design, but you don't like it.
I love the look of it. I love the design of it. I just wouldn't buy one.
Well, it's ridiculous. Okay, I think they're fantastic. I'm not... I said I was so excited by these. Again, I'm still slightly nervous about our conversation we had with Greg about ARM. I'm still slightly nervous about the compatibility when it comes to switching to ARM, especially when you're spending that sort of money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it still needs to prove itself to me. I will say that, but I think the hardware is great.
Listen, go to doubletaponair.com. You'll see a full review and full details there of all the pricing and everything else. We've put that up for you as an article on the homepage. Go to doubletaponair.com and read more about the Microsoft Surface, and we will bring you more on it as we get it. I'm going to try and get hands-on with these. Really, really need to get hands-on. Microsoft, if you're listening, I'd love to try this.
I would love, because it's my favoritist machine. Are you listening, Microsoft?
Yeah, don't send me the Pro. Send him the Pro, send me the laptop. There you go, problem solved. Listen, some other stories to mention today. One of the best ways to get entry-level Sonos speakers at one time was through its IKEA Symfonisk partnership. But that is ending because the two companies are going their separate ways. IKEA is not restocking the Symfonisk units that are in its stores currently. So if you want one, now is the time. In a statement to The Verge, Sonos has clarified it will continue to support the products via software updates for the foreseeable future. That's a vague term, but there you go.
Scary.
Who knows how long? You would have seen these. You could get like speakers that are very much like HomePods, actually, in terms of the design. Those round speakers that had lamps attached to them, so you could have, you know, your speaker and your lamp in one, if you wanted that. So your lamps around the home could actually be speakers. You had like bookshelf speakers as well. Those were really nice, amazing sound off them. I may pick a couple up before they disappear entirely. But
really,
yeah. Do you know the problem is though that the whole Sonos thing? It's an unnerving time, I think, for Sonos, for especially for customers of it. It's such a bad year last year, and they still seem to be rattling from it, which is not good. Another story I want to mention quickly as well is LG. So think about anyone who's got an LG smartphone in 2025, because the company is shutting down its servers for good, which will block the phones from any future updates. Now, the tech giant from Korea announced back in 2021 that it was shuttering its smartphone division and promised 3 more years of updates to its existing customers. That time, of course, has come and gone. So the servers are finally being turned off on June the 30th this year. Now, you can still use your LG phone after that time, but it won't get any more updates. And that means it will likely work as expected for the next few years, but there is always a chance that a major update to an app could break compatibility with older phones. So, nothing has moved in as a new player. That said, compared to years ago, there are considerably fewer phones to choose from, especially in Canada now, it seems. Even established companies like Motorola, which still produces flagship phones, don't release all of their phones in Canada. We know that the OnePlus 13T is not going to be released in Canada as well. So if you've got an old LG you want to upgrade, your only options on the Android side at the minute, in Canada at least, Google, Samsung, Motorola, OnePlus, certain versions of it, nothing, and various other small manufacturers like Red Magic's gaming phones, which personally I've never tested. But there you go. On the Android side, that's the thing. You get many, many choices of smartphone, but not as many as you used to. So that's you up to date with the news.
The news.
Right, let's move on and talk about labeling. Oh, I love a label, and it's especially cool when we talk about gadgets that I can buy to make labels, and cheaply as well. Shaun, I'm going to change your mind on this because you were a bit cynical at my... well, I say my tip, it wasn't mine, it was Shaun Randall's tip. Let's bring Shaun Randall back to the show. Shaun, welcome back to Double Tap.
Thank you very much.
It is great to have you here. And you have really kicked off a conversation between Shaun and I. We were talking about this the other day. Basically, I learned a really valuable tip from you, and I wanted to share it on the show. I hope you don't mind. I kind of stole it. I didn't claim it as mine before anyone starts. I did attribute it to you. Didn't I, Preece?
Yeah,
I did.
No, you carry on, Stephen. Let's see where this intro leads us to. Go on,
listen, if
carry
you
on.
you know only too well, this intro leads absolutely nowhere. This is a runaway train with no driver, and it's not a driverless train.
Let me just say this. I'm going to
interrupted
crash.
already. Right, fine.
I'm going to crash in. So we talked about Shaun's amazing tip for labeling at home, right?
Yes.
That you loved, and
I was going to set that up, but thank you. Please jump in.
I simply mentioned that I was surprised at your reaction. I was surprised at your surprise at Shaun's tip of using printed labels to label things, and how shocked you were. I wasn't poo-pooing Shaun's tip at all.
Changing minds now that Shaun's here.
And what do we get? What do we get? Almost the next day is, Shaun's coming on to talk about his tip. You just threw me under the bus here. That's all that's happening.
Today's bus number is number 43.
Unbelievable.
Has it got a label on it?
And how do you read that label? Braille, large print, CNAI, pen friend. Look, I think the thing that got me was the simplicity of the tip in the way that, you're using essentially a regular printer, label printer, to label stuff around the home. Now, it kind of started off, I guess, because you were labeling food in the freezer and you were wanting to be able to read it yourself, but also for your wife to read it, right?
Yeah, well, my wife is blind as well, but other family, daughter can see.
Okay.
We've tried the pen friend, and the pen friend's fine as far as it goes. But of course, the pen friend requires the same pen. The information isn't on the labeled item, it's inside the pen in your hand. So if your
it's
pen
not
breaks
networked.
Yeah, exactly. And then we tried Braille, and I got wrist ache. Because either you're using a Perkins and cutting up labels, or you're using Dymo tape, and it takes a week just to spin the dial and click the wheel thing around. And then you're missing a few contractions, so you write things that are a bit rude. And so the idea of print labels just seemed really obvious, because outside of the stuff we put in the freezer, the stuff we buy has already got writing on it. So if I've got to use my phone to check what I'm opening from the butcher, why not use my phone to check what I've frozen myself?
It's a great point. Yeah.
It is a great point, and I like the key word he used there was obvious, Stephen Scott.
Yeah, you keep saying it like you had this idea as well, like you do this all the time. You don't. And I imagine others didn't too. And I go back to that post on Mastodon that you put up. There were others that were kind of like, I don't know what you're doing here. Why are you doing it this way? And I know it because, look, I think sometimes we get kind of clouded by our own, interests in making it technical, or, the fact that Braille is a big hot topic this year, being 200 years, or was it last year? No one can really decide. But, the fact is that we kind of look to that as being the answer. And we hear, of course, for, Braille, it's, a great reason to use Braille later in life if you lose your vision. It's a great way to use it. It's a great use case for it. And, this idea comes along, which is all-inclusive. It's not exclusive at all. You can read this. You can use your phone to read it. You can have family members read it. So it's a really simple, but really impactful and inclusive idea. And I think some people could overlook it.
Yeah, I think certainly if you were to ask a sight loss advisor, rehabilitation specialist, their instinct would be to reach for the accessible, right? The specially modified, your RNIBs, your Cobalt systems, all your people that produce stuff for blind people. Because the assumption people see is that's what you are, therefore that's what you need. And yet, of course, the stuff that's made for us is often more expensive and less accurate, because it's made in lower quantities, it's made a different way, isn't it? I think the rigor of mainstream hardware is sometimes overlooked as well. Like if this printer packs in, it's 30 quid. I'll buy another one in a couple of months if I need to.
Yeah.
Well, for me, that's the point. I mean, obviously, me and Stephen are having a bit of playful banter here about this. But
No, I hate you.
yeah, I hate you too. But the thing is, the really interesting thing is how
Just in case we get letters, we don't hate each other, okay? Don't start writing in, please.
No, I do. I hate him.
I kind of hate him too.
The thing is trying to print labels. Now, when you said, Stephen, he's using a traditional printer, right? It's not. We're using a label printer here, right? Because the idea for me of setting up
that.
Well, I did say that. I said it at the beginning. I said it's a label printer.
Okay.
No, yeah, but initially you said it was a traditional printer.
But even that, if I may, Stephen, my first label printer was a big butt thing. It had a USB cable into my laptop and a power supply into the wall. It had a 5 meter roll of tape inside it. It was massive.
Yeah.
And it was a thing that I used for stock control and barcodes when I was working. But also I used it just to slip little notes into my daughter's reading record at primary school. Like if I had to write a few words as to what page she'd got to or which words she'd struggled with, it was the perfect way because I didn't want to waste a whole sheet of paper. So that's one of the things I did with labels as well, was when you need to write something small, why would you risk a whole sheet of paper? And then that's progressed to being this tiny little thing, this little label printer we're talking about now, which is about the size of an iPhone. Right? It's not a big thing at all. It's a little battery-powered gizmo that produces a small label for you to stick on something. It's an interesting evolution.
Oh, absolutely. And that's my point, though. It was trying to set up because I did this before when trying to use it for addressing envelopes or parcels. I would buy a sheet of those, peelable labels, Avery or whatever it used to be called, and then you had to put them into your printer, my standard inkjet, and then find the correct template in Word and trying to line it up, and it never quite works.
Well, then you've got to remember which ones you've used, haven't you? You've got a table
exactly
which corresponds to the label.
Yes.
And you've got to count the cells. Oh, I've done that one. I haven't done that. Oh, I've missed one out in the middle. Yeah, and by the time you've done that, you've gone grey.
Yeah, exactly. So that is a reason why I've sort of moved away from that aspect of it. But I think the key point here is you found, for a start, that label printer, and I'm guessing it's totally accessible? Question mark?
Well, what do you mean by accessible? So when the label comes out, if you've not got an app on your phone or a pair of Meta glasses or something, how do you read what's on the label? Where do we stop defining accessible?
I define accessible as in I can take the thing out of the box after the postman's shoved it at me and set it up and hit print on it. After that, it's all down to me.
Yeah, I did that. That was easy.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Is there any software to install, or is it just see it as a regular Windows default printer?
You need a driver, as with almost every printer in Windows. I don't know why they haven't standardized printers yet, but they haven't. But when you have the driver, you can then just print from Notepad or Word or whatever. I don't think that you have the full breadth of customization options you'll get with their software, which isn't accessible. So if you want to make fancy graphical labels with borders and colors, well, not colors, it's a black and white printer, but lines and boxes and things, you lose out on that side of it. But being somebody who can't see anyway, making that sort of label is beyond my own needs or abilities.
And for our use case, obviously, the less fancy things that could take away from the OCR aspect of, we just want to be able to read the text.
Literally, I installed the driver. I plugged the printer into the USB port, installed the driver, opened Notepad, typed a couple of lines, and those lines were on a label in my hand within 5 seconds of clicking print.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
And look, I've got to say, I, in the intervening days since this subject came up, bought this label printer and had it delivered to my home. I promptly set it up with extreme excitement, I've got to say, and I'm not still entirely sure why. But I got very excited about it and got it all plugged in. And I downloaded the software, because that's what you do as a good boy. I went off and I downloaded the software and I downloaded the drivers, which you had very kindly sent me a message on
Generous.
Mastodon.
Well, I am.
Very generous man. Sent me all the details. So I went off to the website. I, hoovered it up with all the various, bits and pieces I needed, installed everything, and then couldn't get anything to work because the software was absolutely terrible. And I was horrified. I was shocked and horrified.
How dare I mention something that you can't use?
Randall, how dare you, sir?
Well,
Explain yourself.
In fairness, he didn't recommend that. He was just showing me where the drivers were. So I installed the drivers. By the way, I forgot to do that first. Big mistake. But once I figured that one out, the software was still inaccessible. And you know what? I went into Notepad. I thought, I'm just going to open up Notepad and just try printing something and see what happens. And the label printed right away. I was amazed. And it was so simple. And that was it. And I thought, this is great. And I checked it with my Seeing AI app, and it was absolutely perfect. Now, obviously, there's, limited mileage in what you can put on these labels. But, the point is you can put the information on there that you need. You can, print it out from Notepad, and off you go. And, I was really impressed by it. But I think, again, it just goes back to this point about the simplicity and cost, right? Because we were talking the other day about this, Shaun Randall, that is. We were chatting about the label printers that are out there. You can buy like Braille label printers. There's obviously the Dymo type, but there's the actual printers as well. And there's one that's going, it looks like something from, Toys R Us, but actually it costs like £1,200. Yeah. It's like $1,500. It's a crazy amount of money for what it is. And, it prints out, Dymo tape labels. And I'm thinking, there's no way I can afford to buy that. And I love, Braille's great. I'm all for Braille, but, come on.
I agree with you.
Even if you could, can you justify buying it?
Well, that's the bigger question as well. You could say, well, look, this is giving me access to the information I want, but here's a solution which costs £20 or £30, $50 maybe, and look what you're getting. You're getting something that you can use you can use a smartphone for. You could use your Meta Ray-Bans. Now, of course, this does require you to have those tools for people who maybe aren't using smartphones all the time, who maybe aren't wearing Meta Ray-Bans. They will want the Braille option. That's fine. But if there's a cheaper way of doing this, and cost always comes up. I mean, I know people hate when I bring up cost, both Sean's, but the cost is a factor, right? It is a factor. We've got to think about it. Most of us who are blind are not in work. We've got to conserve the pennies. And, we still need to be able to label things around the home and know what things are. So, I think it's a great conversation starter on this topic around the cost of specialist tech versus mainstream, which I know always excites our audience no end.
Definitely. The other thing maybe worth thinking about is the less obvious uses of this thing. So the simple fact of putting a label on something with some words is one thing, but you can do a lot with QR codes. You can encode a lot of text in a QR code. You can encode a Wi-Fi login or a contact for your phone. So there are more options than may be apparent than, just text as well. That's quite interesting.
Oh, so if you created a QR code somehow, and there are websites for specifically creating QR codes, and you did the right-click application key on that image, you could just send it to the printer and it would print?
Yes, that's right.
That's very cool. And of course, you don't have to worry, going back to text for a second, you don't have to worry about trying to format it so it fits on the label. That's all taken care of on the device, right? Or through the driver.
I haven't experimented with very long or very short labels.
Yeah.
Because I know that the labels are sort of, how big are they? Sort of 4x3?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not big
Centimeters,
labels.
inches, feet?
Yes, feet. No, they're absolutely in feet.
On a large print option.
Yeah. Now, talking of measurements, I did see, I haven't got one, but the company that make this printer, Nelco, that's Nelco with a K, they do a 4-inch by 6-inch label printer. That's standard address label size. So if you may be wanting a printer for more specific labeling needs of, if you're an Amazon seller or something, and you can get labels of that exact size from all the companies that you sell stuff with for couriers. They provide a standard 4x6-inch shipping label. So this thing is not designed for that purpose. The smaller one, I think, is designed for labeling things more than packages. I mean, you can use them to print out address labels, but they're a smaller label. It's interesting that they've got a range of sizes for different jobs. I find that quite a useful thing to know. Quite limiting in some ways, in that you're limited to a smaller label with this particular machine. But it's 30 quid, and if you didn't want it for that, you wouldn't have bought it. So everything to its place, right, to its job. Just on a wild tangent, we've got a bathroom scale in our bathroom, obviously, for keeping track of our body weight. But you can't weigh a suitcase on it. It's designed for people. Unless your feet are on it, it doesn't weigh you. So you buy the right tool for the right job.
Can I ask about the printer? You mentioned the size of it being iPhone-like or smartphone sized. Is this a thermal printer then?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. So no messy ink cartridges or anything.
You're in stock with thermal labels. No ink, no toner, no ribbons. Yeah. And the thermal label, the official thermal labels, are about £10 for another roll of 230, which is quite a reasonable amount of money. There are knockoff brands, of course, as well, but those are the official.
Knockoff brands? How dare you say third-party brands are available? Yes. Okay. Very good. So what are the what's the print quality like for those that may not be so sure or aware of what thermal printing is compared to laser or inkjet? I'm guessing the print quality, it must be good enough for OCR because you're using it.
Yes, it's black and white, so there's no color.
Yeah.
The app on iOS that I've played with when not printing on my laptop does have controls for sort of font size and things. They tend to default to bold. I'd imagine if it mattered to you to read it by eye, you could modify the default templates on the app to scale up that font size. So I can't see enough to tell you how much writing you'll physically get if you up the font size above sort of, standard. But certainly for the iPhone, I mean, I've labeled 12 things that I've cooked and frozen, and I now have no issue at all with seeing AI picking out any of them individually and reading the full name of what I've frozen and the date I froze it.
Yeah. I mentioned when Stephen brought up your tip, particularly back when it comes to frozen food, I talked about when you take things out of the freezer and sometimes they're covered in frost. And I have used printed labels before, and the ink will smudge. Now, admittedly, I'm using, as you would say, knockoff ink cartridges most of the time, so the ink isn't that great. But how is it for if it gets slightly wet? Does the print on a thermal printer, it actually just stays there? It's not going to smudge or anything like that?
I've only had it a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So not long enough to be,
But you haven't come across any
when
problems?
I've added to my... No, not yet. And I use thermal labels. I mean, I've used them quite a lot over the years. From my daughter was very small, and she's now going into her teenage phase. So even if it's not durable in terms of being carried around and used a lot on things that don't move around, like frozen food, I've never had a problem.
Yeah. That sounds really good. Do you know what? I hate to say it because Stephen will, gloat incredibly.
Yes.
I think I got to get one of these.
Do you know what? You can't go wrong. I mean, honestly, again, if you need it for labeling, right? I mean, I wouldn't suggest you just buy one for the sake of it. But if you are someone who labels or who wants to label, and there's lots of things I've around the home, in particular plugs. It's always plugs for me. I set things up and then I think, what was that plug for? And someone will say, hey, can you unplug this or can you unplug that? And I have to really think what it is and end up always getting it wrong. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get this Dymo labeler, the Braille labeler, and I'm going to sit and work this all out. It's not that I can't do it, but it does take a lot of time to make those labels. And, then have to think, okay, so the word has to be, short enough to be able to fit onto the back of a plug.
Oh, yeah.
All that stuff as well. Now, these are standard and they're very small labels. I think, from memory, I think they were like 50 millimeters by 30 millimeters. They're not big at all, these labels. And if the OCR can be picked up, if the text can be picked up by the phone or by the glasses or whatever, then, winner, chicken dinner is the phrase I would choose to use. I mean, honestly, I love this idea and I love the simplicity of it. And that's why I was so keen to talk about it when I learned about it. But it does, like I was saying earlier, Shaun, it does pick up this conversation around sometimes, I talked again the other day about, the Americans who tried to, find a pen that could write upside down in space during the space race, and the Russians came along with a pencil. Sometimes there's just a simpler answer, and we're not doing Braille down by saying, hey, Why not use this as an option?
No, absolutely not. I'm waiting to confuse my daughter by using actual Unicode Braille on one of the labels, so she thinks it's Braille and you can't actually touch it. That will wind her up. But yeah, it's a right tool, right job, isn't it? And there are times when I want something to be accessible to me solely, and Braille works for that, or audio works for that. And there are times when I want things that are shared. And this thing is cheap, and I think it's important. I mean, I didn't have any idea as a kid how big print was. My only reference was Braille. So the thought that you could fit that amount of text on a label that small wouldn't have occurred to me as a child, because Braille is sort of mono-spaced and one size only. So yeah, I mean, there are people who might not even realise about the benefits of a size label that size, what you can put on.
How much are you trying to put on your food labels? I mean, mine would just say chips, right? So it'd be easy.
Well, I did go to a restaurant the other week with an old friend, and she brought her 2 children, and all 3 of them have got different allergies. And they had a war over the menu as to who could have what and who was sat next to whom. So yeah. Must be incredibly hard at tea time when you've got 3 separate toasters in the household just to cook a meal.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, well, we had 2 options in our house: take it or leave it. That was it for when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But you know, it's interesting because that again was the other thing that I didn't even consider. Because again, you think about the text size on the label from the point of view of me, for example, someone who at one time might have been able to read that label. So you think, well, if I can't read it, then there's no point trying to print this text size on this label. But actually, it doesn't matter. The phone can pick it up anyway. So, you know, I just thought it was a really cool thing. Nelco is the company name. Is that right? It's Nelko?
That's right, yeah. Melko, yeah.
And it was the PM220. That's the one I got, which I think is the one you've got as well.
That's the one. That's the small one. That's the
the
portable,
small.
battery-powered.
Yeah. And it works on the iPhone as well. You can use it on the iPhone. You can use it on, you can hook
Does
up
it?
to, yeah. You can actually Bluetooth it to your phone, and you can connect to it that way. So it's, I mean, you don't have to use the PC at all or the Mac, but you can indeed plug it into those as well. The only reason you really would plug it in is to charge it up or to use it with that computer. But, you know, the fact it's got that built-in battery, which I didn't really pick up on at first, is kind of cool as well. You can actually take it with you and start sticking labels all over your hotel room if you felt like it.
Yeah, please don't do that.
That's a great idea.
You know what? I concur. That is a great tip, Shaun. Well done. I was wrong.
Shaun,
Happy,
you're
Stephen?
a hero. Yes, Shaun,
you.
you're a hero. Not you.
Thank you.
Shaun Randall is a hero. Shaun, thanks for coming on. Come back soon with more tips. Give us more.
Thanks for having me. Great pleasure as always.
Thanks, Shaun.
There you go. I knew you'd change your mind on that one eventually.
Yeah, I've got to say, I am going to get one as well. I might even go for the bigger one for printing address labels, because that would be really handy. It's so annoying having to ask someone to write an address out on a parcel I'm sending.
Yeah.
Especially when my kids just tut and, you know, oh God, okay.
I'm going to do this, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, again, the thing is being able to have that auto format thing going on where it will just automatically, you know, make it fit the size of the page is just wonderful.
That's it.
So yeah, you know, I think it's well worth it. And the one that's the 6x4 again is wireless, but you can hook it up. That is available as well. These are all available on Amazon mostly. Nelko PM220 is the one, the smaller one. And I would say, you know, if you're thinking about size, I was trying to think about the best way to describe it in terms of size. It's like a little bit larger than say one of those smart plugs that you get. You know those smart plugs, like the big Amazon smart plug you get? It's about that. It's not huge. It's not big at all. And you can literally put it in your bag.
Is it?
Yes, it is, yeah. Quite thick because of the roll of paper that fits inside it mainly. But no, it's a really nice little design.
Does the paper sort of sit inside the printer itself, or does it hang out? Do you know what I mean?
No, the roll of paper goes inside, and then it just and what's wonderful about it is you don't have to feed paper through. There's a little part which just pops open. You pop the roll inside. You don't even have to click it into anything. It just sits in there, and then you just pull the labels through, and then close the lid down, and it will work out the rest. It figures out, you know, how to start printing from there. It does all that work for you. So, you know, again, it's really simple. You don't have to feed anything through or make sure you've got paper in a certain place or make sure the rolls sit in a certain way or, you know, make sure it's adjusted accordingly. It does all that by itself. Really, really smart. I mean, actually very simple, but really, really smart.
Very cool. Okay, you were right.
I'm
there.
always right.
All right.
Well, except when I'm wrong. Here's a nice email from John before we go.
Hi, Stephen. Holding a finger on the screen and pressing the volume keys has adjusted the accessibility volume in TalkBack for years now. However, I am pleased to hear that you have figured this out. It must have been a real pain always dealing with the volume panel unnecessarily. Anyway, keep up the good work. Still listening. John.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Less sympathetic comments from Julian.
Hello, Stephen. Sorry to rain on your parade, but I think you'll find that the new volume control gesture you found in Android was actually introduced with TalkBack 13.1 back in 2013. Never mind, we will drag you over to the wonders of Android eventually. Regards, Negative Julian. P.S.
Oh.
Oops. TalkBack 13.1 was, of course, introduced in 2023, not 2013. Now, who is a silly Billy? Regards, Negative Julian.
I think you could have got away with that one right here. I think you'd be okay, Julian. But thank you for that. Yeah, it's been there already. But, again, if you know, you know. And it's not a feature I'd even thought of. It's not even a thing I would have tried to do. Because, like I've said before, the whole split tap thing doesn't really work on Android except on the keyboard. So it wouldn't make sense for me to even think about trying that. But, a great little feature where you basically hold the finger down on the screen and you use the volume keys, and that adjusts the accessibility volume. If you know, you know.
And who knew? Well,
who
John
knew?
and Negative Julian, obviously. Yes, I feel like we've been slapped a little bit. I mean, very polite, very respectable.
Quite right
emails,
too. No, quite right too.
I feel like I've been slapped around. Thank you, John. Thank you, Julian.
Let's go to Amanda.
Hey, Double Tap team. It's Amanda from Canberra, Australia. And I was just listening to your episode about WhatsApp being dropped from older phones. And I thought, I should message these lovely people on WhatsApp.
Oh.
So my question is anyone finding that websites are less accessible these days when using Chrome on a Mac? I've been finding this, and I found that I've had to go back to using Safari. I don't know why I started using Chrome, but that's been my default browser for a long time, and now it doesn't seem to be working so well. So thank you for the show. I've been listening to you for about 6 months now, and it kind of almost feels like you guys are old friends now. So, and Laura, of course, and the mysterious Mr. F. So thank you very much for your show and all that you do.
Oh, thank you, Amanda. Appreciate you getting in touch. Thanks for sending us a WhatsApp message, which, of course, you can do at any time. Thank you for that. Yes, you're part of the family as well. It's great. Do you know what I think is wonderful? I think it's great that we've built this community around the world, which basically means that anywhere you and I go now, we can get a bed for the night.
Yeah, that's always handy. Yes, We're old friends to everyone, just very old.
Let's see how friendly we are when we turn up on their doorstep. That's all I'm going to say. Let's see how welcome we are at that point. Maybe we'll be welcomed in. Maybe we'll get a drink. Maybe we'll even get a sandwich or a bag of crisps. But
overstaying our welcome is
4 days later. See how you feel about it.
Quickly, I know we haven't got much time, but Chrome on the Mac?
Yeah, so it's a bit of an ongoing issue, this. Chrome on the Mac seems to be... there's actually two issues going on at the minute. I mean, Chrome is definitely an issue for a lot of people. I see a lot of folks on other social media talking about them switching over to either Edge, if they really want to, because, of course, that stays within the Chromium world, or moving to Safari. Now, personally, I use Safari all the time. And I always have, partly because of the whole iCloud keychain and passwords. I just find it easier to live inside that world. But there are issues creeping into Safari as well, and some of them are very similar to the Chrome issues. One is the navigation inside the web browser. It used to be the case, and certainly was the case for many years, that when you went to a browser, you would get stuck in the toolbar, and you had to uninteract from that and then find your way to the web content and then interact with that. And then if you changed or you moved or something happened or you came out of the app and you went back in through Command Tab, you'd have to then do this whole procedure again. Now, that went away for a while. You could easily move back in. You could easily just, hit the first heading on the page. You could hold down VO, Command, and H, and it would just take you straight to the first heading on the page. But that's becoming more problematic, more so on Chrome, and becoming more problematic on Safari as well. So you might hit some of the same stumbling blocks. But yeah, accessibility on Chrome, especially things around tables on the Mac, tables are a bit of a nightmare generally to navigate. It's not the best to do, which is kind of why I'm jumping back and forward between PC and Mac at the minute, because I find some websites are better on the PC, some are better on the Mac. The Mac does have item chooser, which does make life a little bit easier to quickly, if you know what you're looking for, right? But if it's a new site, you are probably more likely to find these problems. So yeah, I hear what you're saying, Amanda. And yeah, we're feeling it too. So yeah, this is just a bit of an ongoing issue at the minute. But Chrome gets nightly builds, right? Every day it's getting an update to some degree or another. So hopefully these issues will be resolved. Feedback through Google and see what happens.
This could be an Apple OS problem.
Could
if it's
well be.
affecting Safari as well.
Yeah,
it
could well be.
Inconsistencies in voiceover handling of web.
Listen, we're out of time, but what an interesting show. Microsoft, new toys to talk about. Go to doubletaponair.com and you can see our further thoughts on that, and also more details on all those specs and details as well. All available on the website, doubletaponair.com. You find all kinds of good stuff about our show. And yeah, lots more to talk about on tomorrow's show as we continue Double Tap. That is it from us today. As always, keep in touch. We'll catch you tomorrow. Thank you, Shaun.
Thank you. Bye-bye.